Have you ever been working on a project and it is just feeling like it's dragging on, you don't really want to finish it, so you put it aside and it just kind of lingers for a while? Well, RetroClaude has mentioned Fix It or Finish It February, which is hosted by Roxanne Richardson, where we kind of take all those old projects, put them together, and decide what to do with them, where to go from here. I had this one project, which is a 1960s cape based off of this pattern, chunky, cute, and keeps my neck and shoulders warm, which are always cold. But I had just kind of gotten stuck and wasn't working on it anymore, and I decided that I really wanted to finish it. So to give myself that motivation, I set a timer for 15 minutes every single day to see how far I could get on working on this capelet. I have been watching RetroClaude's shorts for Finish It February, where she's working on finishing her Daisy Blast, and it gave me the idea of seeing what projects I can finish in the next 30 days by knitting on them for just 15 minutes at a time. Usually I work on these like really long-spanning, large projects that are vintage or antique inspired, and I love working on them, but you should see how long my queue is for all the other knitting and crocheting projects I want to be doing. I'm in the car right now waiting for something to be done, and I brought this long-term knitting project with me. It is a cape knit on 10mm needles with 4 strands of Bernat Baby's Cotton Soft yarn. So let's put a timer on for 15 minutes and let's see how far I get. Okay, the 15 minutes is done. I think I managed maybe 3 rows or so. It's a little awkward when I have these thick needles. If you want to get an idea of what this cape is supposed to look like, this is the ribbed neckline, so that'll be folded over when I wear it like this, and then the body of the cape comes down here like that. And yeah, I have quite a bit more ways to go, but we will see each other again tomorrow for another 15 minutes of work on this project. Let's see how long this might take us. I'll see you then. So the pattern I chose was quite a chunky one, but even the yarn that I had wasn't quite as big, so my personal gauge was off from the original pattern gauge, which meant that I had to knit about twice as many rows as the pattern said in order to finish my personal version of the cape. The other thing about this is that I used a cotton yarn, which is very heavy, and looking back, I should have used some sort of wool or like lighter non-cotton yarn because it did end up dragging down quite a bit, but it was still really motivating to see progress over time after I decided to use a stitch marker to mark where I ended a particular day's worth of knitting for 15 minutes. It's day 2 of me attempting to join in for Finish It February, and before I start knitting today, I'm going to mark the last stitch that I finished on yesterday so we can see exactly how much progress I make in a 15-minute time span. There we are. It is marked. Now let's start knitting. 15 minutes is up, and I have managed to finish 2 rows today in the 15 minutes that I have been knitting. To finish out this cape, I need to do 13 more rows of stockinette and then a few more garter stitch rows, so it'll be a few more days of 15-minute chunks to work on this, but I really enjoyed it today, so I will see you all tomorrow. Bye! I've got a 15-minute timer on, the stitch marker placed for where I stopped last time. So let's get to knitting for another 15-minute chunk for today. I got 3 rows done today, which means that I have 9 rows to go before I get to the bottom garter stitch edge. That could take me the next 3-4 days to finish, but I'm looking forward to this. I'm actually making more progress every day than I thought I would. The original idea with this project is that I would use it to fill those awkward bits in the day that I wasn't really doing anything else but wanted to work on a little bit of knitting, and so these 15-minute chunks would be perfect. But to be 100% honest, I am procrastinating today. I should be cleaning my apartment because I have company coming over to stay and I should be setting up the guest room and everything, but I'm not really in the mood, so I've decided to take these 15 minutes before I have to start to do something that I enjoy first. On day 4 of doing this 15 minutes of knitting a day challenge, I guess, for Finish It February, I have done another 3 rows of knitting. And while you might think that that's maybe not so much, I do think that you can see all the progress we've made when we look back at the stitch marker we placed after our first day of knitting. So we've done all of this work in the last just 4 days of working on this 15 minutes a day. So it doesn't feel like a lot every time we do it, but it adds up over time. Now you might be wondering, why did I choose 15 minutes? And basically what was in my mind was
what is an amount of time where if I take that out of my day, I wouldn't really feel it so much. You know, half an hour can sometimes feel like a significant chunk and might be hard to sit down and do it. And you might think, isn't knitting supposed to be enjoyable? And yes, it is, but sometimes you just need to know that you can stop what you're doing after 15 minutes. And if I were doing this again, I probably wouldn't restrict myself to 15 minutes, because there were times where I sat down to knit at this capelet and I wanted to keep going, but I kind of wanted to stay within my 15-minute parameters. It's just kind of like a start. Like, you sit down, you do something for 5, 10, 15 minutes. If you want to keep going, keep going. If you don't, that's okay, but you got further today than you have before. It also kind of made me think of those kind of weird amounts of time you might have in a day where maybe you finished one thing and you need to go somewhere else, but it's not yet quite time to go, but you don't really know what to do. So this might be a thing that you can pick up a knitting project that you were working on here and there. It's also easier if you're doing it consistently, because 15 minutes sometimes isn't enough time to get into the groove of a project if you haven't been working on it for a while. But because I've been doing it every single day, day after day, I didn't have to remind myself where I was or what I was doing or what the pattern said next.
Day 5 of knitting for 15 minutes a day on a long-term work in progress for Finish It February. And I have just gotten into the groove on knitting on this other project, but it's late in the evening and I know I need to go to bed soon, and I haven't yet worked on my 15-minute a day project. So I'm going to take out the cape, I'm going to put on 15 minutes, I'm going to watch a good show, and we'll see where we get to after that. 2 rows today. This is the number of rows since we started this entire project, and I think we have 2 to 3 more rows to go until we get to the garter stitch border. So I will see you all tomorrow.
I decided to do this in a shorts form originally because it was a little bit lower lift, a little bit lower intensity, but I thought it was an interesting concept to kind of bring forward and put together as one coherent video. So I hope that you're enjoying seeing me work through this over the course of a few days, a few different stages, but also remembering that these clips that I'm showing you were supposed to be self-contained, like TikTok or Reel or YouTube Shorts videos. So I hope that that is not too jarring in the terms of the narrative of this story. Also, about halfway through, I went to visit my parents, so that is a long car ride away, which meant that I had a little bit of time to do some different kinds of knitting. It was really nice to chat and work on that as well as we were going on this trip and see the progress of my different projects as we were driving. So that was really nice. And then finishing out the rest of this as I was visiting my family. Day 7 of knitting on this cape for 15 minutes a day, and we have finished all of the 22 rows of stockinette that are required before we get to the garter stitch border. The original pattern calls for 5 rows of garter stitch border, but I'm at about half gauge, so I need to do 10. So let's see how far we can get with 15 minutes of knitting for today. I just finished and we've done 3 rows of garter stitch today, so probably another 3 days or so until I am fully cast off on this cape, and then we'll see exactly how we'll go about finishing it. So I'll see you tomorrow. Good morning, I just woke up. It is day 8 of working on this cape for 15 minutes every day. I am working on the garter stitch border. I have 8 rows to go to finish this cape, so let's see how far we can get in 15 minutes today. I finished 3 more rows for a total of 6 rows of the garter stitch border, meaning I have 4 left, or 2 days on this cape. So I'll see you tomorrow. We're on day 9 of working on this cape for only 15 minutes a day, and I think this is my second to last day on knitting on this cape. So let's see how we can Ooh, I'm tired. Can you tell? Let's see how far we can get in 15 minutes today. 9 rows out of 10 are completed for the garter stitch border, which means that I think tomorrow we're going to be finished knitting on this cape. I'll see you then. Today is day 12 of knitting on a cape, this one in particular, for just 15 minutes a day. And yesterday I knit the last stitch of this cape, but it doesn't really mean that it's done yet. Step 1 is to weave in all these ends, so let's weave them in really fast. Okay, all the ends are woven in, but you might realize that this is still a flat cape and nothing that is in the round. So what we have to do is seam up this seam. So let's sew this seam together, and then I will show you what this finished cape looks like. And here we are, my cape is finished. I absolutely love it. So there we have it, the finished capelet. Unfortunately, I did forget it at my parents' house, so I can't show you like beautiful cinematic views of the finished product. I do wear the capelet frequently when I'm at my parents' place, but there are a few things, again, that I wish I would have done differently. If it were a lighter material, like a lighter weight wool, something airier, maybe that, I think it's Wonder Fluff from Knitpicks is what really comes into my mind, it would have stayed up. That collar would have stayed up and underneath my chin. That's really where I want the warmth, because around here is where I get the most coldness when I'm just sitting and working at my computer or doing some knitting, and I really want that to stay warm. So when I wear this capelet, it really tends to ride down, and it kind of sits almost where the neckline of this particular sweater is. So I have some thoughts on what we could do to fix that. I've already tried running a cord through the bottom of the ribbing of that neckline, but when I pull it tight, it just feels really restricting. So I might take my own advice from a video from quite a long time ago now, which is how to fix the neckline of a stretched out sweater, and use that technique to kind of pull together that ribbing on the cape. I think if I use that technique just on that turtleneck ribbed portion, then it would sit up higher and support the weight of the rest of the capelet as I'm wearing it. At least that's a theory that I have and something that I could feasibly do. I just need to find a matching elastic. That is the one bit that I don't have. All my elastic is black, not white, so that would probably stick out quite a bit. Overall though, I'm happy to have tackled this, and I think it's great to set aside a chunk of time to really deal with those unfinished objects or those work in progress projects that you don't really know what to do with anymore. I decided to sit down and finish it, even though maybe I wasn't as excited about it as some of the other projects, but it's also completely valid to unravel and frog back the work that you've done or the project that you worked on and realize that maybe that yarn or that project wasn't right for you. And overall, I hope that this also shows that if you work at a project and you chip away at it at little bites and chunks at a time, you will eventually get to the end of it, no matter how difficult each intermediate step is. And honestly, that is something that I need to keep in mind, not just for my knitting, but for life as well, right? Take things small little chunks at a time. Thank you again so much for watching. If you like videos like this, please feel free to subscribe, and I will see you all again very, very soon. Bye.